Hi there, welcome back to another video. Today we are doing a big chunky wrap-up and TBR because I haven't done one of these in a while and I used to do them every month really. However, I had a TBR for summer and then it didn't really go that way, so I just kind of stopped doing these videos because I was never following the plan that I would set myself every month, and I was annoying myself, which means I was most definitely annoying you. But we're back with another wrap-up and a TBR, so I hope that you're excited to see the books that I read over summer and the books that I would like to try and read during autumn. Emphasis on the word try. I think I'm already setting myself up to fail because we have a lot of books. Actually, we have quite an overwhelming amount of books. Okay, I'm going to be talking a lot. I've got myself a very strong coffee at the ready because I was awake at 5 AM this morning and I'm probably going to be going to bed at about 1 AM maybe tonight. So I'm running on pure caffeine right now. I'd also love to know what books you read throughout summer and what's on your TBR for autumn, so please leave me a comment to let me know. And if you want me to bring these videos back monthly, then again, let me know because these videos are so wholesome to make. I really do enjoy filming them. It's just a case of whether you actually want to see them that often. Give me that feedback. Alrighty, let's get cracking. So the last time that I filmed a TBR and a wrap-up video, I was in the middle of Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. So this is a book that's almost like smack bang in the middle of the Throne of Glass series. For me, the Throne of Glass series started off extremely strong. It was brilliant, it had great promise. However, this book and the book before it in the series have not been my favourites. It's just kind of lost me along the way a little bit. I do still love the characters, but I don't particularly feel like I'm rooting for anybody that much right now. And the person that I am rooting for apparently really irritates people in the final few books, which means that they're probably gonna irritate me. Unless I'm just in the minority and end up loving them till the end. So this book overall I rated a 3 out of 5 stars. It's not a crazy score, but it's also not bad. I mean, Sarah J. Maas's writing style is phenomenal. There's no denying that. And I did enjoy reading this book. It just wasn't like thrilling to me. It didn't give me that oomph. In case you want to know what the Throne of Glass series is about, obviously with no spoilers whatsoever, we are following our main character, Selena Sardothien, who is an assassin, and she is paid by this assassin leader and lots of clients and stuff to obviously do what an assassin does, which is an assassin's got to do what an assassin's got to do. So the next books in the Throne of Glass series that I read, I'm going to tandem read them. So you've got Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn, which both coincide simultaneously in terms of the chronological order of events. It's just split into different characters in each book. I have been strongly advised to read them both at the same time to prevent it becoming stagnant or potentially too slow. So that is what I'm going to do, and I'm really excited for it. I've never done a tandem read before, so stick around for the journey because in my next wrap-up, I'm hoping I will have done a tandem read for the first time. Whew, that coffee's going straight to my brain. So I finished that one in July. The next book that I finished in July was Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. This was obviously a book club pick that you guys chose, so thank you so much. I absolutely loved this book. This book I initially rated a 3, however I did prefer it to Queen of Shadows, so I think, because I've rated them both a 3, I might actually bump this up to a 3.5. I don't normally do half scores, but when I'm looking at the two books side by side, I definitely do think I enjoyed this one more. So this is a Norse-inspired fantasy novel where you have 3 main POVs. And it was just really intriguing, and I love the whole way that the god system works. So how you have these different people who have like half-blood of certain gods, and the gods are all inspired by animals, and you've got this kind of Viking-esque world, and I was just captivated by it. I really, really loved it. The only reason why it's a 3 or a 3.5 stars is because I wasn't particularly that invested in 2 of the main POV characters. I didn't really care all that much for their storylines. I was just going along for the ride. But then there was one main POV. His name was Varg, who I absolutely loved. I really enjoyed his storyline the most, his character the most, and he carried this book for me. The ending of this book was also incredible, and without a doubt in my mind, I will be reading the next one in the series. So this was a good pick by you guys who voted in the book club. And then the final book that I read in July was Second Chances at Samphire Bay. So this one was by Sasha Morgan. It is the start of a small town seaside romance. Really light, really fluffy. I just wanted a palette cleanser, basically. This book is about less than 300 pages and it was really nice. It was a lovely, lovely read. I actually bought this book for my mum's birthday. She read it, really enjoyed it, and then lent it to me for me to read. And again, because it was summer, it was the height of July, it's a seaside town romance. And yeah, now I've given that back to her because it ain't my book. So that was July. It was a very busy month in my personal life, so I didn't read all that too many books, but the ones that I did read, they were okay. Oh, I rated Second Chances at Samphire Bay a 3-star as well. So the 3 books that I read were all basically 3 stars, but my favourite was Shadow of the Gods, which probably will be 3.5 stars. I'm overcomplicating my starring metric. So moving on to August, this one was a much better reading month, one that I enjoyed a lot more. So the first book that I finished in August was actually my first ever ARC. So an ARC is Advanced Reader Copy, I believe that's what it stands for. And it's basically where you're sent the book prior to its release in order to give honest feedback and a review. I cannot believe that the book I got was my first ever ARC. This is actually, it's blowing my mind that I was able to read this. So this was Brigands and Bread Knives by Travis Baldry. I received that prior to its release. It releases in November. I have read Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. I have yet to read Bookshops and Bone Dusts. However, Brigands and Bread Knives was incredible. I'm not gonna lie, when I read Legends and Lattes, I thought it was okay. Like, it was just, you know, so. I rated that one a 3 stars. Brigands and Bread Knives, I bumped that up to 4 stars. It was amazing. In fact, I enjoyed it so much it might even be a 4.5. I don't know, it was great. It was cozy, wholesome fantasy, but it was much more action-packed. So with this one, you're following your main character going off on an adventure. There's this found family trope. They end up with people that they never expect that they would. There's companionship, there's action all throughout. There is not any slow moment. The world building is incredible. We go to so many different locations. There's so many different species. It's a very high fantasy novel and I absolutely loved it. I would definitely reread it again. And it's a good mix between like a palette cleanser fantasy novel, but not too basic, like not too fluffy and light-hearted. There were very serious themes, and I'm not gonna lie, it made me feel the same warm and fuzzy feeling that The Hobbit made me feel. So I would highly recommend that you read Brigands and Bread Knives by Travis Baldry when it comes out in November. And again, I just feel so lucky that I was able to read that. It was great. And then the next book that I read after that was The Secret Beach by Veronica Henry. This was another book that I rated 4 stars. I absolutely loved it. I've read Veronica Henry books in the past, and again, they've always just been such wholesome romance novels. She's a really, really lovely writer. I love her writing style, and this is another seaside town romance, bit of a theme going on in terms of the romance books I chose to read during the summer, but this one was brilliant as well. So if you're into romance and you want to read a book that's set in summer at the seaside, it might be a little bit late now, but I suppose if you are in a country that is going into its warmer weather or going into its summer seasons, The Secret Beach would be a great one. It is about a secret beach and really likable characters as well, and I feel like that does make a difference. The next book that I read in August was Babel by R.F. Kwan. This was the book club pick for August, so again, thank you so much if you chose this book. This was a very thought-provoking, insightful book. However, this may toot some people's horns in the wrong way. I rated this 3 stars. The reason why, and I explained this in my live stream for when we talked about the book, was that R.F. Kwan is a brilliant author. There is absolutely no doubt about that. Like, they are brilliant authors. She is a brilliant author. She is so intelligent. However, there were times where I felt like the writing style was quite patronising, as though it was trying to make me, as the reader, feel dumber than I already am. I'm just saying the way that sentences were structured or worded, or like the tone that she would where she would put her voice into her writing, it came across a little bit patronising. But the themes in this book are so relevant, so important in today's political climate. I think it's best if you go into this book kind of blind. So it's a dark academia. There's a very low element of fantasy in there. It does have fantasy elements, but they're very, very small. The whole fantasy part is around this silverware that can create magical abilities, or you can kind of do certain things with the magical bars and the silverware that you wouldn't initially be able to do. There's a rebellion in this. It's a standalone, so if you're not looking to start a series, you just want a standalone that starts and concludes in the same book, this would be a great one, and I would recommend it. And I think the themes in it are so important, like really, really important that we do all consider. I just felt like the writing style wasn't 100% great for me, or I didn't really vibe with her writing style. I would consider reading another book by R.F. Kuang, but if I felt the same way afterwards, then I probably would stop with R.F. Kuang. And then the final book that I read in August was another arc. How lucky am I? I actually do feel really, really lucky. So this one was The Cinnamon Spice Inn by Harper Graham. So this one, it is now released. So it released at the end of August, and I think I read it like the week that it was released. This one obviously didn't fit the summer vibe because it's the Cinnamon Spice Inn, but if you are looking for a small town autumnal romance, pick this up. It fit the autumn theme perfectly. Every single chapter is romanticizing autumn. You want to hallucinate smelling cinnamon spice when there isn't any cinnamon spice around you? Read this book. It will make you think you are smelling cinnamon spice. You want to envisage pumpkins for the rest of the season? Read this book and you will think of nothing but a pumpkin. Honestly, the autumn vibes were peak, and that is why I rated it so highly. I rated it at 4 stars. The writing style was great. It was easy to follow. Yes, it felt like a Hallmark movie, but that's exactly what it sets out to be. So if that is what you are expecting, it will meet your expectations. Don't expect anything different. Small town romance with likeable characters. I would absolutely read any more in the series. I'm assuming it's going to be a series. A lot of these small town romances normally are because they follow different characters in the town. But this one is obviously about the Cinnamon Spice Inn that is going through some money issues and is unfortunately starting to fail. Our main character, the main female lead, she has been living in New York, but then somebody sends her a mysterious, ominous letter for her to go back to the small town where she grew up in. And she's trying to salvage her family's inn because her dad's not doing too well with looking after the inn after her mum passed away. And that is the whole premise of the book. It's cozy, it's wholesome, it's set in the build up to Halloween. Yeah, I would definitely reread it again, but next October or September, not August again, because we had a heat wave. It was like 30 degrees, which is hot in this country, and I was reading about cinnamon spice and pumpkins. Didn't really fit the vibe. So that is July and August. Let's talk about September wrap-up, which will be the books I've read so far, and also the book that I'm currently reading, because we're not actually finished with September yet. So the first book that I finished in September, Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch. This is the second book in the Gentleman Bastards series, following on from The Lies of Loch Lamora. You guys chose the Loch Lamora book as the January book club pick, so thank you so much. And I have now continued the series. I'm going to say it right here, right now. I preferred this book to The Lies of Loch Lamora. So The Lies of Loch Lamora, I rated 3 stars when we read it for the book club. This one I rated 4 stars. I absolutely love this. It was incredible. The first third was slow, or like building up gradually to the main plot, and then the final 2/3 are where the main plot goes into motion. It was so hilarious. There is no denying that the way that Scott Lynch writes dialogue is so witty, so funny. The banter between the characters is unmatched. It was honestly incredible. We're introduced to some new characters in this book that we didn't have in the previous one that I absolutely loved, and I just thought it was amazing, and it's made me want to read the next book way quicker than I thought I would want to. To not spoil anything about the series, The Lies of Loch Lamora, or the Gentleman Bastards series as a whole, is about this like group of con artists or like scammers. So the gang like to scam rich people, essentially. It's like a business thing that they do. And your main guy is Locke Lamora, who is the most witty individual ever. He's such a unique character. I absolutely love Locke Lamora. And you've got his sidekick, Jean or Jean, and you have lots of other people in the Gentleman Bastards sequence as well. So that's the first book in a nutshell. I'm obviously not going to tell you anything about this, but it does have a much different location to the first book. If you're looking for a book that's kind of based on like pirate ships or that's set at sea, this is your book after you've read the Locke Lamora one. The next book that I read in September was the September book club pick. This is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I won't say too much about this book because at the point that this video is being uploaded, we have not yet had the live stream to talk through this book. So obviously I like to save my thoughts and opinions for the live streams, so make sure to look out for that. It will be on the final Sunday of the month for every book club, so I am going to talk more about that then. What I will say is that this is like the most confusing book ever. I had absolutely no idea what is going on in it. It wasn't confusing because of Susanna Clarke's writing. Her writing is very, very easy to follow, which is great. It was just confusing because of the overall plot. So you have our main character, Piranesi, who is living in this like magical house with lots and lots of different halls. One of the things that I actually didn't like about this book was how into detail of the halls it goes into. So the halls are obviously the north, the northwest, the south, the southeast, you know, all of that, you know, like everything is, every location is kind of based on that compass. But then the halls also have different numbers. So you could have the 87th hall in the southwestern corner of the house. And I just feel like every single sentence had a hall, what part of the compass it was on, what number hall it was, and I just think that kind of detail got very, very draining when it's in every single sentence. And also, there were very, very random words that were capitalised for no reason, which disrupted the flow of me reading it because my brain somehow seems to emphasise words that are capitalised more than words that are lowercased. And for some reason, random words were capitalised and it never really got fully explained. And I had to Google afterwards and it still never really got fully explained as to why that was. And it just kind of annoyed me. It kind of annoyed me. But there were a lot of pros to this book. I loved the mystery elements to it. I loved trying to work out what was going on. Like, it's made me want to read a mystery thrillery book in the future, so that where I'm like constantly thinking, what is going to happen next? I'm not going to tell you my thoughts on the ending of this book because I'm going to save that for the live stream. But if you must know what my rating is, because I feel like it's really mean if I don't tell you the rating for this book, but I have for everything else in this video, I rated this a 3 stars. Take from that what you will. And then the final book that I've read so far in September is another arc. So this one is The Last True Dagger Dancer of Nardus by Callum Rushworth. So I was very lucky, obviously, to read the arc for The Summoner that came out in June by Callum. I do know Callum personally, so he does let me read his books early, but I absolutely loved this. So this is a novella. It's coming out on the 3rd of October. It is set in the desert lands of Nardus, so a slightly different location to The Summoner. It is still in the same world as The Summoner, but it's in a much different location. You've got different characters. It's almost like a prequel novella, so it's set many, many years before the events of The Summoner. You could read this if you haven't read The Summoner and you just want a grasp of the author's writing style. So in it you have our main character Kiara, who is a dagger dancer of Nardus, as the name would suggest. The dagger dancers are basically these like incredible desert like assassins who dance with their blades, essentially. It's very, very badass. And she has an animal companion, which I absolutely love, and I think the connection between Kiara and her animal companion is incredible. So Kiara has been given a mission to kill this rebel leader. Is that what they're called? Rebel leader? He's wanting to stage a rebellion? But on the journey, she finds out more information about it, and she suspects that there is something not quite right about the information that she has been told. So she does a little bit more digging, and yeah, she finds out a lot of juicy stuff, and she's left in a very sticky situation. And it was just really, really fun. It was action-packed. The world building was incredible. I love the fact that it's set in like pyramids, deserts, sand dunes, like all of that good stuff. And obviously it was a very quick read. It was about 100 pages, maybe just under. I just think it was brilliant. And I think if you want something that's very, very action-packed, obviously with it being a novella, and it's a standalone novella, it needs to be very fast so that things happen and get wrapped up within that time frame. But I just think the author got the balance between appropriate world building without it being too slow for a novella. Yeah, it was great. I rated that 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I rated The Summoner 4 stars. This novella is a fantastic addition to the world. So yeah, that'll be coming out in about a couple of weeks or so. And then let's move on to my current reads. I've totally just realised that the book I'm currently reading I've left downstairs. Oh. So the book that I'm currently reading, which I'm sorry that I've been so unorganised that I don't have with me right now, is Funny Story by Emily Henry. What a book. So I've had so many people talk about Funny Story. I've read 2 Emily Henry books in the past and they've both been 5 stars. Absolutely incredible author. She is so hilarious. She's so funny. She doesn't write cheesy romance, but she also doesn't write depressing romance. She writes fun, uplifting, juicy, well-written romance, and her characters are incredible. So far I'm only about 100 pages in, but I'm loving the main 2 characters. So you've got your female lead Daphne and your male lead Miles. The purpose of Funny Story is that they have both been dumped by their partners or ex-partners, and those 2 partners have come together, which means that both Miles and Daphne are left with basically nowhere to live, so they live together as roommates whilst they're trying to figure stuff out. It's just great. Daphne also works in a bookshop. Brilliant. And I'm just really enjoying it. It's honestly fantastic. So yeah, obviously I can't give a rating because I'm currently reading that, but so far really, really loving it. Then the next book, which I'm hoping to start in a few days once I've finished Funny Story. This book is highly anticipated. Lots of people have been telling me to read it. Lots of people have said, how can you be a fantasy fan and have not had read this book? That's right, guys. It's almost time to read The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I cannot wait. So the edition that I have is over 1,000 pages. I know that some of you have said I should read the whole thing in one go, but I just don't think I'm going to be able to with the amount of other books I do need to read before like Christmas. So I think I'm going to read the first book, which is The Fellowship of the Ring. But I am so excited. I will be documenting my journey with reading The Lord of the Rings on my YouTube channel. So stay tuned for reading vlogs, reading reviews, all that good stuff. And I can't wait to film a first impressions as well. This is going to be such a fun journey, and I can't believe it's taken me this long to read it, but I can't believe now is the time in my life where I get to read it for the first time. Wow, I'm so lucky to be able to read this for the first time. Wow, okay. So those were the remaining 2 books for September that I'm hoping to read. So now let's move on to my autumn TBR. So these are the books that I'm hoping to read in autumn, probably like October, November time. I'm hoping I can read these. I think it's realistic. So obviously, disclaimer, whatever the book club picks for October and November will also be added to this TBR. But obviously right now I don't know what that is. So we currently have the October book club poll running at the moment. I set that live the other day. And at the point of you watching this, it will be closing on Monday. So you only have about a couple of days or a day left to vote if you haven't done so already. So obviously then, like tomorrow, I will know what book I will be reading for the October book club, and obviously I've got no clue yet about the November one. So whatever those 2 books will definitely be in this TBR as well. But 2 books for October that I 100% want to read are the Lucy Jane Wood novels. So we have Rewitched and Uncharmed. Rewitched I read last year, and it to me was the perfect October cozy fantasy read. I rated this 5 stars. I absolutely loved the author's writing style straight away. It felt like a female Harry Potter. It's about a witch who, as she's turning 30, she has to prove to the coven that she is worthy of keeping her magical powers, so she has to go through lots of trials and lots of tests set by the coven to prove that she is a worthy witch, basically. It was also very, very autumnal. It was set in the run-up to Halloween, and I knew immediately when I read this last year that I would want to reread it again the next autumn, which it now is. I also have the beautiful sprayed edge edition. It's one of the most beautiful books that I've ever laid my eyes on. And then the second one arrived, which actually was released earlier this week. I think it was released a few days ago. I did pre-order it, because how could I not? This is the second novel in the series, and it's another sprayed edge edition. It's also signed, which I'll try not to brag about, but it does make me very smug. So this one says, the events of Uncharmed take place prior to Belle's adventures in Rewitched, but both are standalone stories set in the Selkirk world. So if you have not read Rewitched, you could still read this and it would make sense to you. This is actually set beforehand anyway, and I'm imagining it's probably got different characters in it, or there might be a crossover of some characters. So in Rewitched, the main character works in a bookshop. In this one, she works in a bakery. So I'm just very excited to have some more witchy vibes again. I absolutely raced through this last year, so I'm gonna read it again this year, and then I'm gonna read this one because they give such a cozy, wholesome fantasy feel. And I think if you want a fantasy book that's going to make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, these are definitely up there. And like I said, Rewitched last year was a 5-star read for me. I was obsessed. Another book I want to read this autumn is The Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch. So this is obviously the next book after Red Seas Under Red Skies. Like I said earlier, I loved the second book in the Gentleman Bastards series so much that it made me want to immediately read the next one. So I am definitely going to do this. So this one I will either read in the middle of Rewitched and Uncharmed, just to break up the series, or I will read this after both of them. And I'm so excited about this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this is the final one that's out at the moment. It's not, the series isn't finished yet, but I think that this is the final one that is available to read. So yeah, I don't want to rush it. I want to take my time with it. Next up in October and November, I obviously want to read a couple of Stephen King books. I'm not sure which one first, but I do have Fairy Tale and I do have Cell. It was also very cute because one of you told me that you were reading this and messaged me on Instagram to say that you thought I would like it. And that's just really nice to know that somebody is reading a book and then they thought, oh, Becky would like this. I think that there's just something really wholesome about that. So thank you very much for thinking of me. Yeah, cute AF. Yeah, I make myself sick sometimes. I don't know what the premise of this is, but I do know that there is a dog companion in it. So what I had to do was you know that website? I think it's called Does the Dog Die? You can type the name of the book or the movie in there, and without giving you any spoilers, it will tell you whether or not the dog dies. I will not read a book where the dog dies if I know about it. I can't do it. Apparently this one is safe, so I can't wait to read that. Stephen King goes into the deepest well of his imagination in a spellbinding tale in which good is pitted against overwhelming evil. A heroic boy and his dog must lead the battle. Yeah, it just sounds really cool. And then this one I picked up when I was in the shop not too long ago. This is Cell. This is where, like, the premise of this is where, like, a virus is transmitted through phones. So every time you use your phone, it has the virus in it. Yeah, the virus is carried by every cell phone operating in the world. Within hours, those receiving calls will become infected. What an interesting premise. I also love the front cover of this. So yeah, I really do want to read that. Maybe I should read that in October in the week of Halloween. That sounds like a sick book. The next book that I want to read, probably in November, I think, is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This is another wholesome, cozy fantasy. I've been told that this one is very like that warm and fuzzy feeling. I think that this one's going to make me feel similar ways to the Lucy Jane Woods books do. So this one is about someone called Emily Wilde, who is a researcher, and she is trying to research fairies. But I think she's competing against somebody. So she has a rival as well, who's also trying to find out all this information about fairies. So the two researchers are going kind of head to head. And this one is described as being enchanting, the ideal book to curl up with on a chilly winter's evening. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this. I think it is going to be like rainy day outside, curl up, read this book, not have to think too hard about it. There's a lot of like cozy fantasy that I've got in this TBR, I've just realised. And then the final book that I'm going to talk to you about today that I want to read is one that was in my TBR last time. I just never got round to it. So this is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I still really want to read this because I think the concept of it sounds brilliant. It's also tiny. This one is about a coffee shop where you can travel back in time, but the only risk to that is that you need to come back to the present day before your cup of coffee gets cold. And I think you're following the stories of some different characters and what they choose to do when they go back in time. And I just think that it sounds such a interesting idea, and I think it's going to make me very reflective. Like, I think I could come out of this book and be a brand new person. That's setting my expectations very high for it. I've been talking for a long time, so I'm going to wrap this up now. Thank you so much for listening to me waffle about the books that I read over summer and what I would like to read in autumn. I think that this feels quite realistic for me, the goals that I've set myself today, so I'm really interested. There's some incredible books that I've set myself to read. It's going to be a very exciting few months in terms of reading. Make sure to leave me a comment to let me know what you want to read in autumn and also what you read in summer. I would love to know. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and if you love talking about books. If you like my content and you want to see more from me, then please subscribe because it's free and it means you'll see my videos easier. I also want to give a massive thank you to the members that are supporting my channel. It honestly means the world to me and you are so appreciated. If you would like access to cool perks and you would like your name featured at the end of each of my videos, then please check out the channel memberships. I just love talking to you about books. I flippin' love it. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you next time, or rather you'll see me, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.